The Nexus station floated in space like a giant metal flower. Its 12 arms stretched out in all directions, each one pointing toward a different trade route. Ships from 100 different worlds came and went every day. Some were huge warships with weapons that could destroy moons. Others were cargo vessels carrying goods between the stars. All of them had to pass through here if they wanted to trade in this part of the galaxy. Inside the station's Grand Council chamber, representatives from 50 species had gathered for the annual military showcase. The room was enormous, with a ceiling that showed the stars outside. Floating platforms held delegates from different worlds. Some breathed air like humans. Others needed tanks of water or special gases to survive. Ambassador Chen stood on the human platform with her team. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Next to the huge aliens around her, she looked like a child at a gathering of giants. The Krellians on the platform above her were 3 meters tall with shells like armored beetles. The Valorians across the room had 4 arms and skin that changed color with their mood. Supreme Commander Vextor of the Krellian hegemony was speaking. His voice boomed through the translator systems. As you all know, today we display our military might. Each member of the Alliance will show their fleet strength. This is not just tradition. It reminds everyone why the peace holds. We all know who we cannot afford to fight. The giant screen at the center of the room lit up. It showed the space outside the station where hundreds of warships had gathered. The Krellian fleet appeared first. 40 massive battleships, each one 5 kilometers long. Their black hulls bristled with weapons. Just one of those ships could turn a planet's surface to glass. The crowd made appreciative noises. Several smaller species looked nervous. They knew they survived only because the hegemony allowed it. Next came the Valorian fleet. Their ships were beautiful and deadly, looking like crystal spears. 30 destroyers moved in perfect formation. Each one shimmered with energy shields that could stop almost any attack. More fleets appeared on the screen. The Zentari brought their living ships, creatures bred for war. The Makari displayed their swift attack craft. Even the peaceful Etherians showed their defense platforms. Then it was Earth's turn. Chen stepped forward and spoke clearly. The United Earth Systems presents its diplomatic fleet for review. The screen changed to show a section of empty space. Then 12 small shapes appeared. They moved slowly toward the station. The room went quiet. Then someone laughed. It was Vextor. Is this a joke, Ambassador? The Krellian commander asked. His 4 eyes all focused on Chen. Those are not warships. They are barely shuttles. The screen zoomed in on the human vessels. The biggest one was only 200 meters long. It looked like a rectangular box with engines attached. No visible weapons. No impressive design. Just simple gray metal boxes floating in space. The Valorian delegate's skin turned purple with amusement. My personal yacht is larger than your flagship. How did humans even achieve faster than light travel with such primitive vessels? More laughter filled the chamber. Several delegates pointed at the screen and made jokes in their own languages. The translator systems worked overtime, turning every insult into words Chen could understand. She waited patiently for the laughter to die down. Her face showed no emotion. A young Krellian officer on Vextor's platform pulled up data on his scanner. Supreme Commander, I'm reading 12 vessels total. The lead ship registers as the UES Persistence, 210 meters in length. The smallest ones are only 90 meters. Their total mass combined is less than one of our patrol boats. This caused even more laughter. Vextor slammed his armored tail on his platform, a Krellian gesture of extreme amusement. Humans, you have courage to come here with toy ships. Do you paint them bright colors too, so you can find them in the dark of space? Admiral Thresh of the Valorians joined in. Perhaps they got lost on their way to a ship museum. Someone should tell them this is a military display, not a historical exhibit. Chen raised her hand slightly. The gesture was so small and calm that it somehow made everyone stop talking. She spoke in the same steady voice. The United Earth Systems formally requests access to trade routes through hegemony-controlled space. As required by Alliance law, we present our fleet for inspection. Vexitor's translator made a sound like grinding metal, which meant he was still laughing. You cannot be serious. You want to enter our space with those cargo containers? What will you do if pirates attack? Throw harsh words at them? Our ships are fully capable of defending themselves, Chen replied. This caused the biggest laugh yet. Several delegates had to adjust their breathing apparatuses. A few smaller species looked at the humans with pity. Everyone knew what happened to weak species in the galaxy. They either found a strong protector or they disappeared. The Mokari representative spoke up. Her voice was like wind chimes. Humans, we respect your courage in joining the alliance, but perhaps you should ally yourselves with a stronger power. The hegemony might protect you for a price. We prefer to stand on our own, Chen said. Vextor stood up to his full height. Then you will fall on your own. But we are not without mercy. The alliance grants all new members the right to demonstrate their capabilities. You may use the military exercise zone tomorrow. Show us what your little fleet can do. Try not to hurt yourselves. More laughter. Some delegates were already leaving their platforms, not even interested enough to stay. Chen bowed slightly. We accept. May we request that all observer ships maintain a minimum safe distance of 100,000 kilometers during our demonstration. This caused another wave of amusement. Admiral Thresh's skin turned bright purple. Safe distance? From those toys? I could park my flagship next to them and take a nap. The request is noted for insurance purposes, Chen said simply. Vextor waved a dismissive claw. Do your little demonstration, humans. We will watch. It should be amusing. Maybe your tiny ships can dance for us? Do they at least have working engines? They do, Chen confirmed. Amazing. Vextor said with fake enthusiasm. Humans have achieved spaceflight. Next you'll tell us you have weapons too. What do you use? Chemical rockets? Laser pointers? Chen said nothing. The session ended with most delegates still laughing or shaking their heads. The humans were clearly new to space. They didn't understand how things worked out here. Size mattered. Firepower mattered. A fleet of 12 tiny ships was not a fleet at all. It was barely a convoy. As the delegates filed out, many made bets on how long humanity would last. Some said a year. Others said 6 months. The kindest said maybe 2 years if they found a protector quickly. Captain Sarah Mitchell was waiting for Chen outside the chamber. Mitchell was tall and looked like she was carved from stone. Her eyes watched everything and everyone. How did it go, Ambassador? Exactly as expected, Chen replied. They've given us the demonstration slot tomorrow. The Krellians? They'll be there. With their flagship. The Valorians, too. They want to watch us fail. Mitchell smiled. It was not a warm smile. Good, the more the better. Distance? I requested 100,000 kilometers. They laughed. Their choice, Mitchell said. We logged the warning. That's all legal requires. The two women walked toward the docking bay where a shuttle waited to take them back to the Persistence. Through the transparent walls they could see the human ships hanging in space. 12 small gray boxes that looked like they were built in someone's garage. A group of Krellian officers passed them. One said loudly, I've seen escape pods bigger than their ships. Chen and Mitchell said nothing. They just kept walking. In 12 hours, the demonstration would begin. The galaxy would learn something important about humans. They would learn that humans had a different way of thinking about war. They would learn that in space, size was just a number. And they would learn why Earth, a planet that had only discovered faster than light travel 50 years ago, was so confident. But for now, let them laugh. Let them point at the little gray boxes. Let them think humans were weak and stupid. Tomorrow would come soon enough. The military demonstration zone was 50 astronomical units from Nexus Station. It was a huge empty space where Alliance members could test weapons and show off their fleets. Destroyed asteroids and old satellite debris floated everywhere from thousands of years of demonstrations. Captain Sarah Mitchell stood on the bridge of the UES Persistence. The room was small and simple. No fancy decorations or massive view screens like the alien ships had. Just functional displays and 20 crew members at their stations. Everyone moved with quiet efficiency. All 12 ships report ready, Captain, her first officer, Commander Davies, announced. He was a thin man who never seemed to blink. Formation holding steady. Through the main display, Mitchell could see the other human ships. They flew in a perfect line, each one exactly 1,000 meters from the next. The Morning Star, the Defiance, the Stubborn Mule, and 8 others. All of them looked exactly the same. Gray boxes with engines. Contact on sensors, the tactical officer reported. It's big. Really big. The Krellian flagship Eternal Supremacy dropped out of hyperspace like a mountain falling from the sky. It was 2 kilometers long and half a kilometer wide. Its black hull was covered with weapon ports. Some of those guns could crack a moon in half. The ship moved slowly toward the human fleet. like a shark approaching minnows. "They're hailing us," the communications officer said. "Put them through," Mitchell ordered. Supreme Commander Vextor appeared on the screen. His four eyes looked amused. "Ah, the little fleet. We have come to watch your demonstration. Don't worry, we will try not to laugh too much." "Supreme Commander," Mitchell replied politely, "we again request you maintain a distance of 100,000 kilometers for safety." Vextor's translator made that grinding sound again. "Safety? From what? Are you going to throw something at us? Maybe one of your crew members?" Behind him, Mitchell could hear other Krellians laughing. "3 more contacts," the tactical officer announced. "Valorian cruisers." The Valorian ships arrived in flashes of blue light. They were beautiful, looking like spears made of crystal and light. Each one was 800 meters long and moved like it was swimming through space. They took positions around the human fleet. Admiral Thresh appeared on another screen. Her skin was shifting between purple and orange, colors of amusement and curiosity. "We wouldn't miss this for anything. Please begin your demonstration. Show us human military might." More ships began arriving. 2 Mokari swiftboats, a Zentari living cruiser that looked like a giant squid made of metal and flesh. Even a few ships from species that usually stayed neutral. Word had spread through the station. Everyone wanted to see the humans embarrass themselves. Mitchell checked her displays. The alien ships had formed a rough circle around them. The closest ones were only 10,000 kilometers away, close enough to see everything in perfect detail, close enough that their shields overlapped. "They're scanning us," Commander Davies reported. "Full spectrum. They're trying to see through our hulls." "Let them try," Mitchell said. "The metamaterial will stop them." On the alien ships, confusion was growing. Their scanners showed nothing useful. The human hulls seemed to absorb sensor beams or bounce them in strange directions. It was like trying to scan a hole in space. "Interesting," Vextor said over the comm. "You have some kind of stealth coating. That won't help you in battle, but it's clever for such a primitive species." "Beginning demonstration," Mitchell announced. She turned to her weapons officer. "Deploy Package 1. Each human ship opened small ports along their hulls. Objects began streaming out. To the alien sensors, it looked like the ships were dumping garbage. Small pieces of metal and ceramic, each one no bigger than a coffee table. The Valorian tactical officer on Thresh's ship laughed. "They're littering." "Is this their weapon? Throwing trash at us?" But then the pieces began to unfold. Each one opened like a flower, revealing delicate solar panels and sensor arrays. Tiny engines fired. In seconds, each piece had transformed into a sleek drone about 2 meters long, and they kept coming. Hundreds from each ship. The 12 human vessels released over 3,000 drones in less than a minute. "What are those?" someone asked on an open channel. The drones moved in perfect coordination. They spread out, forming geometric patterns in space. Some created triangles. Others made squares and hexagons. Together, they built a massive sphere around the human ships, 500,000 kilometers across. Vextor leaned forward on his command throne. "Fighters? But they're too small. No pilot could fit inside. They're autonomous," Admiral Thresh realized. Her skin turned yellow with surprise. "They're all robots." The sphere of drones began to rotate. Different sections moved at different speeds, creating a complex pattern that hurt to watch. It was like looking at 1,000 puzzles being solved at the same time. Mitchell opened a channel to all observers. "We will now demonstrate offensive capability. Observe asteroid designation Alpha 7. In the distance, a dead rock the size of a city floated peacefully. It was 40,000 kilometers from the nearest ship. 100 drones broke from the sphere. They moved faster than any fighter the aliens had seen, accelerating at rates that would turn living pilots into paste. They formed a needle shape and dove toward the asteroid. "They're going to ram it?" a Mokari officer asked. The drones fired, not big beams of energy like most space weapons. Instead, each drone released a stream of tiny projectiles, each one no bigger than a grain of sand. But they were moving at 20% the speed of light. The asteroid didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist. The relativistic projectiles turned it into an expanding cloud of plasma in less than 2 seconds. The drones flew through the cloud and rejoined the sphere. The communication channels went silent. Admiral Thresh was the first to speak. Her skin had turned pale blue, a color of fear. "Those were kinetic weapons. Relativistic killers? Impossible," Vextor growled. "The power requirements alone," Mitchell interrupted. Each drone carries a small antimatter reactor. Very efficient antimatter. The word hung in space like a threat. Most species knew about antimatter, but few could harness it safely. It was too dangerous, too unstable. A single gram could destroy a city. You're lying, Vexter said, but he didn't sound sure. Would you like a closer demonstration? Mitchell asked. The human ships began to blur on the sensors. One moment there was 1 persistence, the next there were 3. Then 5, then 20. False signals appeared everywhere, each one perfect enough to fool targeting computers. Electronic warfare, someone whispered. The real ships started to move, but not like normal ships. They would disappear and reappear thousands of kilometers away instantly. No acceleration, no travel time. Just gone and back, micro wormholes, Admiral Thresh breathed. They're jumping through folded space. Her tactical officer spoke urgently. Admiral, I've been running simulations based on what we're seeing. If these capabilities are real, then one human ship could what? Could destroy our entire task force. On the Eternal Supremacy, alarms started screaming. The tactical display showed something impossible. They were surrounded. Hundreds of drones had moved into attack positions while everyone watched the demonstration. They were so small and quiet that the automated systems hadn't tagged them as threats. When did they? Vextor started. About 10 minutes ago, Mitchell said helpfully. Your point defense systems can't track objects that small moving that fast. We could have destroyed you 17 times by now. The Supreme Commander's 4 eyes went wide. He was starting to understand. These weren't just small ships. They were something entirely different. Something new. The Valorian cruisers discovered their own problem. Drones had attached themselves to their hulls like limpets. The tiny robots were scanning their shield frequencies, mapping their weapon systems, learning everything about them. Get them off. Thresh ordered. We can't. They're too small for our weapons to target. Mitchell's voice was calm. This concludes the basic demonstration. Shall we continue to advanced maneuvers? No, Vexter shouted. Then quieter. No, that's sufficient. The drones began returning to the human ships. They folded back into small packages and disappeared into the hulls. Within minutes, it was just 12 small gray ships floating in space again. But now everyone looked at them differently. They weren't seeing cargo containers anymore. They were seeing something that shouldn't exist, ships that broke the rules everyone thought were absolute. How? Admiral Thresh asked. How do you have this technology? Mitchell smiled slightly. Humans have been killing each other for thousands of years. We've gotten very creative about it. When we reach space, we realize something important. What? In space, size doesn't matter. Speed matters. Intelligence matters. Adaptation matters. A swarm of bees can kill a bear. Vextor's flagship backed away slowly. The massive battleship, which could destroy planets, was retreating from ships 1/100th its size. Your request for trade routes, he said carefully. We will need to discuss it. Of course, Mitchell replied. We'll be waiting at the station. The human ships turned and began moving back toward Nexus Station. They traveled slowly, casually, like nothing had happened. Behind them, dozens of alien vessels hung in space, their crews trying to understand what they had just witnessed. The emergency session was called within an hour of the demonstration ending. The council chamber at Nexus Station was packed. Every species that had a representative within 10 light years had sent someone. The huge room buzzed with 100 different languages, all talking at once. Supreme Commander Vextor stood at the central platform. His shell had turned a darker shade, which happened when Krellians were stressed. He kept clicking his claws together, a nervous habit he thought he had broken years ago. I have called this emergency session to discuss the human demonstration, he began. His voice carried none of its usual boom. What we witnessed requires immediate consideration. Admiral Thresh floated on her platform nearby. Her skin kept shifting through different colors as her emotions changed. Fear, confusion, anger, and back to fear. My technical teams have been analyzing the data. What the humans showed us should not be possible. Explain, demanded the Zentari representative. Their living ship had also been at the demonstration, and it was still trembling from what its biological sensors had detected. Thresh pulled up a holographic display. It showed one of the human drones in detail. Each of these units masses approximately 200 kilograms, yet they carry antimatter reactors. Do you understand what that means? They've miniaturized technology that we can barely contain in structures 1,000 times larger. A murmur ran through the chamber. Several species had tried to develop antimatter technology, Most had given up after losing ships, stations, or in one case, a small moon to containment failures. That's not the worst part, Vextor added. He brought up his own display. Watch this. The recording showed the human ships disappearing and reappearing. The movement was instant, no transition, no travel time. They're using artificial wormholes, he said. Microscopic ones lasting fractions of a second. Just enough to move a ship a few thousand kilometers. It requires massive amounts of energy and computational power that should be impossible for ships that size. The Mokari representative chimed in with her melodic voice. Our analysis suggests each human vessel contains quantum computers running at speeds we can barely imagine. They're calculating wormhole mathematics in real time, something our best systems would need hours to process. Ambassador Chen entered the chamber quietly. She had been invited to explain humanity's technology. She stood on a small platform, looking up at the giants around her. Her face showed no emotion as hundreds of alien eyes turned to stare at her. Ambassador Chen, Vextor said, your demonstration has raised many questions. I'm happy to answer what I can, Chen replied. How? Admiral Thresh asked simply. How does a species that only achieved faster than light travel 50 years ago have technology that surpasses civilizations thousands of years older? Chen smiled slightly. We had good teachers. What teachers? War and death, Chen said. Humans have been fighting each other since we learned to pick up rocks. We've never had a decade without war somewhere on our planet. Every advancement we made, we immediately weaponized. Fire, metal, chemistry, atomic energy, computers, genetics. If it could be used to kill, we found a way. The chamber was quiet. Most species had achieved unity before reaching space. The idea of constant warfare was disturbing. Chen continued. When we developed nuclear weapons, we thought we had reached the peak of destruction. Then we created antimatter bombs. When those weren't enough, we developed kinetic kill vehicles. When enemies learned to stop those, we created drone swarms with distributed intelligence. Every defense created a new offense. Every offense created a new defense. But your ships are so small, a Valorian officer said. That's the point, Chen explained. On Earth, we have a saying. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Large ships are easy targets. They can't dodge. They can't hide. They present massive sensor signatures, so we went the opposite direction. We made our ships as small as possible while cramming them with the most advanced technology we could develop. The drones, Vextor said. How many can each ship produce? That's classified, Chen said. But I can tell you that each vessel is essentially a mobile factory. It can build, deploy, repair, and recycle drones continuously. The only limit is raw materials which we can harvest from asteroids or debris. The implications sank in. A single human ship could potentially create thousands of combat units. 12 ships could fill a solar system with deadly swarms. The electronic warfare, Admiral Thresh said. Your ships created perfect copies on our sensors. Quantum signature replication, Chen said. Each false image is identical to the real ship at the quantum level. Your sensors literally cannot tell the difference. A smaller species, the Trivani, asked a question. If you have this technology, why only 12 ships? Why not hundreds? Chen's smile grew slightly. Who says we only have 12? The chamber erupted, everyone talking at once. The idea that there might be more human ships hidden invisible was terrifying. Vextor slammed his tail for silence. Are you threatening us? Not at all, Chen said calmly. I'm simply pointing out that if our 12 ships can hide from your sensors while sitting right in front of you, how would you know if we had more? The logic was undeniable and frightening. The humans could have ships anywhere, watching trade routes, sitting outside military bases, hiding in asteroid fields, invisible until they chose to strike. Your philosophy of war, the Zentari representative said. It's unlike anything we've encountered. Chen nodded. Most species fight wars of conquest. You want territory, resources, slaves. You build big ships to intimidate and conquer. Humans learned something different. In space, territory is meaningless. Resources are everywhere. The only thing that matters is survival. And the best way to survive is to make sure no one wants to fight you. By being too strong? By being too costly, Chen corrected. Our ships might be destroyed in a full war with the hegemony. But how many of your ships would we take with us? How many worlds would burn from relativistic strikes? How many decades would you spend hunting down every hidden drone factory we've seeded in dark space? Is any victory worth that cost? The chamber fell silent again. Everyone was doing the math in their heads. The humans weren't threatening conquest. They were promising mutual destruction. Admiral Thresh's skin turned a deep black, a color rarely seen. It meant she was thinking deeply. You've changed the entire paradigm of space warfare. Size and firepower are no longer the determining factors. They never were, Chen said. You just thought they were because no one challenged it. On Earth, we have small creatures called army ants. Individually, they're nothing. A single human could step on one without noticing. But when millions of them work together, they can strip a forest bare. They can kill creatures 1,000 times their size. And you see yourselves as army ants? We see ourselves as survivors, Chen said. We know we're small. We know we're new to space. But we also know that we're very, very good at war. It's the one thing our species has always excelled at. Vextor brought up new data. Our analysts have run simulations based on your demonstrated capabilities. A single human ship could potentially destroy a fleet of 20 conventional vessels. 27, Chen corrected. Your analysts are using conservative estimates. The Krellian's four eyes widened. 27 per ship, Chen added. Multiply that by 12. Or by however many ships you think we might have hidden. The math was staggering. If the humans had even 50 such vessels, they could theoretically fight off the combined fleets of half the Alliance. What do you want? Admiral Thresh asked. What is humanity's goal? Trade, Chen said simply. We want to trade. We want to learn. We want to explore. We don't want your territories or your resources. We have no interest in conquest or empire. We just want to be left alone to develop and grow. And if someone attacks you? Chen's expression hardened for the first time. Then they'll learn why humans are the apex predators of Earth. We didn't climb to the top of our food chain by being nice. We did it by being more creative, more adaptable, and more ruthless than anything that tried to eat us. She paused, then added, but we'd prefer to be friends. It's much more profitable. The session continued for hours. Technical questions were asked and sometimes answered. The full recordings of the demonstration were analyzed frame by frame. Each analysis made the human threat more clear. They couldn't be tracked. Their drones were too small and too many. They couldn't be targeted. Their electronic warfare was too advanced. They couldn't be predicted. Their wormhole jumps were truly random. They couldn't be outlasted. Their ships could build new drones indefinitely. As the session wound down, Vextor asked one final question. The safety warning. You asked us to stay 100,000 kilometers away. What would have happened if we had listened? Chen looked directly at him. Nothing. You would have watched our demonstration from a safe distance. And because we didn't listen, you learned an important lesson about humans, Chen said. We always give fair warning once the threat was clear. The humans had shown their capabilities up close because the aliens had ignored their warning. Next time, there might not be a demonstration. There might just be action. As the delegates filed out, many looked at Chen differently. She wasn't a small, weak human anymore. She was a representative of something dangerous. 3 days had passed since the demonstration. Nexus Station was buzzing with activity unlike anything seen in decades. Every government in the Alliance was sending urgent messages. Military advisors were being recalled. Defense strategies that had stood for centuries were being thrown out. In a secure meeting room deep within the station, Supreme Commander Vextor sat across from Ambassador Chen. Between them was a holographic display showing trade routes through hegemony space. The room was small with no guards, no advisors. Just the two of them. You've caused quite a stir, Vextor said. His translator gave his voice a tired tone. That was not our intention, Chen replied, wasn't it? The Krellian's four eyes studied her. You knew exactly what would happen when you showed those capabilities. Half the Alliance thinks you're planning to conquer the galaxy. The other half wants to hire you as mercenaries. Chen poured herself tea from a thermos she had brought. The smell of jasmine filled the room. And what do you think? I think you're the most dangerous species we've encountered, Vextor said bluntly. Not because of your weapons, but because of how you think. You don't follow the rules the rest of us have agreed to. We never agreed to those rules, Chen pointed out. No, you didn't. Vextor pulled up a new display. It showed intelligence reports from the last 3 days. Do you know what my analysts have been doing? They've been studying your history. What they found is disturbing. The display showed images from Earth's history. Wars, conflicts, weapons of increasing destruction. You fought 2 world wars before you even reached space, Vextor said. The second one ended with atomic weapons. Most species would have united after such horror. You didn't. You kept fighting. Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, the resource wars of the 2050s, the gene conflicts of the 2080s. We're aware of our history, Chen said, sipping her tea. Are you aware that you're an anomaly? Vextor asked. Every other spacefaring species achieved global unity before developing faster than light travel. You achieved it after. You were still having border skirmishes when you built your first colony ship. We're complicated, Chen admitted. You're insane, Vextor corrected. Your species developed planet-killing weapons while you still had separate nations. Any one of your countries could have ended your civilization. It's a miracle you survived. Or perhaps, Chen said, that constant competition is what made us strong. While other species achieved peace and then stagnated, we kept pushing. Every nation trying to outdo the others. Every military developing counters to their enemies' weapons. Evolution through conflict. Vextor was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled up another file. 3 hours ago, the Hegemony Council voted. Your trade route request is approved. Full access, no restrictions, minimal tariffs. Chen raised an eyebrow. That's very generous. It's not generous. It's fearful. Vextor leaned forward. But I need to know something. Those drone swarms, the wormhole generators, the antimatter reactors. That's not your real military technology, is it? Chen said nothing. During the demonstration, Vextor continued, your Captain Mitchell said something interesting. She said you were demonstrating basic capabilities. What did she mean by basic? Exactly what it sounds like, Chen said. So there are advanced capabilities? Every military keeps some secrets. Vextor's translator made a sound like grinding stone. My intelligence division has been trying to find information about your real navy. Not the 12 ships you brought here. Your actual military fleet. We've found nothing. No shipyards, no supply bases, no patrol routes. It's like it doesn't exist. Maybe it doesn't, Chen suggested. Or maybe, Vextor said, it's so well hidden that we can't find it. Just like we couldn't scan through your hulls. Just like we couldn't track your drones until they wanted to be seen. He pulled up a star map. It showed the Sol system and the surrounding space. We've had probe ships watching your system for years. They've seen cargo vessels come and go. They've seen your orbital stations. But they've never seen military ships except the 12 you brought here. Perhaps you weren't looking in the right places, Chen said. Or perhaps your entire military is invisible. Vextor's 4 eyes all focused on her. Those metamaterials on your hulls, they don't just block scans, do they? They bend light, radiation, every form of detection. You could have 1,000 ships and we'd never see them. Chen finished her tea and set down the cup. Supreme Commander, what do you know about Earth's oceans? The question seemed random, but Vextor answered. They cover most of your planet. Very deep in places. For thousands of years, humans could only see the surface, Chen said. We built ships that sailed on top of the water. Then we learned to go under it. Submarines, we called them. Ships that could hide beneath the waves, invisible, silent, deadly. They changed warfare because you never knew where they were until they attacked. And your space fleet? Space is an ocean, Chen said. Most species sail on the surface, visible to everyone. But what if someone learned to dive deep? To hide in the dark between stars? To move without being seen? The implications hit Vextor like a physical blow. If the humans had truly invisible ships, they could be anywhere. Every secure facility, every military base, every homeworld could have human vessels watching, waiting. During your demonstration, Vextor said slowly, you said the 12 ships were your diplomatic fleet. They are. Then where is your war fleet? Chen smiled. Where submarines always are. Deep and silent. Before Vexator could respond, his communicator buzzed urgently. He answered it, listened, and his shell turned pale, a color of shock. What is it? Chen asked. Long-range sensors just detected something, Vextor said. Gravity anomalies. Dozens of them. Moving through dark space toward the station. Chen checked her own device. Ah, that would be our escort. Escort? You didn't think we'd come to Alliance space with only 12 ships, did you? Chen asked. That would be foolish. The main display changed to show sensor data. Gravity wells moving through space, bending space-time around them, but no ships visible. The anomalies formed a perfect sphere around Nexus Station at a distance of 1 light hour. 36 anomalies, Vextor counted. 36 invisible ships that you can detect, Chen added. Gravity is hard to hide completely, but we're working on it. How many more are there? Does it matter? Chen asked. If you can't see them, can't track them, can't target them, does the number matter? Vextor was starting to understand the real message. The humans weren't just showing their technology. They were showing a new doctrine of warfare. Invisible, unpredictable, asymmetric, your species, he said. You're not conquerors. No, Chen agreed. You're not traitors either, not really. We are, but you're right. That's not our nature. You're predators, Vextor said. Ambush predators. You hide, you wait, you strike when the enemy can't see you coming. Chen nodded. On Earth, some of our most successful predators are the ones you never see. The snake in the grass. The spider in its web. The shark in dark water. They don't chase their prey. They wait for it to come to them. And if someone threatens you, then they find out why humans are the only sapient species on Earth, Chen said. We had competitors once. Neanderthals, Denisovans, others. They were stronger than us. Some were smarter in certain ways. But we're the only ones left. Because you outfought them. Because we outthought them, Chen corrected. We didn't fight fair. We used traps, poisons, ambushes. We attacked at night when they were sleeping. We turned their strengths into weaknesses, and eventually they were gone. Vextor stood up, his massive frame making the room feel smaller. The Alliance needs to know about this. All of it. Tell them, Chen said. Tell them that humanity wants peace. We want to trade, to learn, to grow, but also tell them that we have a saying on Earth. Speak softly and carry a big stick. Your ships are small, Vextor pointed out. The stick isn't the ships, Chen explained. It's the capability, the knowledge that attacking us would be like attacking smoke. You might hit something, but you'd never hit everything, and what you missed would hit back in ways you couldn't predict or prevent. As Vextor moved toward the door, he turned back. One last question. Your real fleet, the one hidden in Sol's system. How many ships?
Chen smiled.
Enough. Enough for what? Enough to make sure no one ever finds out how many we really have. After the Krellian left, Chen activated her communicator. Captain Mitchell's face appeared. How did it go? Mitchell asked. He's starting to understand, Chen said. What about the others? The Valorians want a mutual defense treaty. The Makari are offering technology trades. 17 smaller species have requested protection agreements. And the threat assessment? Mitchell smiled coldly. Every military computer in the Alliance is trying to figure out how to fight an enemy they can't see with weapons they can't stop. So far, they've all reached the same conclusion, which is, don't, Chen nodded. Good. Make sure the escort fleet stays visible on gravity sensors for another day. Then have them disappear again. Let everyone wonder where they went. Psychological warfare, Mitchell said approvingly. The threat you can't see is worse than the one you can. Exactly. And, Captain, have the Persistence do a close flyby of the Hegemony flagship on your way back to dock. Slow and casual? Any particular reason? 1 week after the demonstration, Nexus Station had transformed. The corridors that once buzzed with casual conversation now hummed with urgent meetings. Every embassy was working overtime. Trade deals were being rewritten. Military alliances were being reconsidered. All because 12 small gray ships had changed everything. Ambassador Chen stood in the human embassy looking at a wall of screens. Each one showed a different meeting request, trade offer, or alliance proposal. Her aide, Thomas, was trying to organize them into priority levels. The Etherians want to discuss a cultural exchange, Thomas said. The Mokari are offering their jump drive technology in exchange for drone specifications. Oh, and the Trivani Republic just offered us 3 star systems. For what? Chen asked. Protection. Chen shook her head. We don't want their systems. We can barely manage the 3 colonies we have. Should I decline? No counteroffer. We'll provide a defensive alliance for trade rights and mineral access. No territory changes hands, Thomas made notes. The Valorians want another demonstration. A private one. They're offering to share their shield frequencies. They want to see our advanced capabilities, Chen said. Politely decline. Tell them what we showed was sufficient. The door chimed. Captain Mitchell entered, followed by someone unexpected. Supreme Commander Vextor had to duck to fit through the human-sized doorway. Supreme Commander? Chen said. This is a surprise. We need to talk, Vextor said. Privately. Chen nodded to Thomas and Mitchell, who left the room. She gestured to a reinforced chair designed for larger species. Please sit, Vextor sat carefully. Even so, the chair creaked under his weight. I've just come from an emergency meeting of the Hegemony Council. They're panicking. About us? About everything, Vextor said. Your demonstration didn't just show human capabilities. It showed that everything we believed about space warfare was wrong. Every strategy, every doctrine, every assumption, all wrong. Change is difficult, Chen said diplomatically. Change? Vextor laughed bitterly. This isn't change. This is revolution. Do you know what's happening out there? The Zentari are redesigning their entire fleet. The Valorians are trying to build their own drone swarms. 3 different species have started wars with their neighbors, thinking they can win before anyone develops your technology. Chen frowned. We didn't mean to destabilize the alliance. But you did. Vextor's 4 eyes fixed on her. Which is why I'm here. The hegemony wants to make a deal. What kind of deal? A partnership. Full technology sharing. Military cooperation. Joint patrols. In exchange, you get preferred status in hegemony space. Access to our research facilities. Our protection. We don't need protection, Chen pointed out. No, but you need friends. Vextor leaned forward. Your technology is spreading. Maybe not the specifics, but the concepts. Drone swarms, miniaturization, distributed intelligence. Within 5 years, everyone will have some version of what you showed. What happens to humanity's advantage then? Chen was quiet, thinking. You changed the game, Vextor continued. But games keep changing. The question is whether humanity wants to be part of shaping the new order or watching from the outside. Before Chen could respond, alarms started screaming throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. Both Chen and Vextor jumped to their feet. Chen's communicator buzzed. Mitchell's face appeared. Ambassador, we have a problem. 3 Gorvak destroyers just jumped in. They're demanding the human fleet surrender. The Gorvak, pirates and raiders who operated from hidden bases in dead systems. They usually attacked cargo ships and small colonies. Coming to Nexus Station was either very brave or very stupid. They must have been watching the demonstration, Mitchell said. They think they found a weakness. What weakness? Chen asked. Our ships are small. They think that means weak shields. They're betting their plasma cannons can burn through. Chen turned to Vextor. Supreme Commander, I suggest you evacuate your ship from the dock. Why? Because in about 5 minutes there's going to be a fight. And we don't want any accidents, Vextor's translator growled. You're going to fight? Here, that's forbidden. The Gorvak started it, Chen said simply. We'll finish it. She and Vextor rushed to the command center. Through the massive windows, they could see the 3 Gorvak ships. They were ugly things built from salvaged parts and stolen technology. Each one was 600 meters long and bristling with weapons. They had positioned themselves between the human fleet and open space. The Gorvak commander appeared on the main screen. He was a reptilian creature with too many teeth. Humans, your technology is impressive, but your ships are fragile. Surrender them to us and we'll let your crews live. Captain Mitchell's voice came over the comm from the Persistence. Gorvak vessels, you are committing an act of piracy in Alliance space. Withdraw immediately. The Gorvak laughed. Little human, your drones won't work here. Too many civilians, too many friendly ships. You can't swarm us without hitting innocents. And your tiny hulls? Our plasma cannons will cut through them like paper. Chen activated her communicator. Captain Mitchell, you are authorized to defend yourselves. Understood. What happened next took exactly 43 seconds. The human ships didn't deploy drones. They didn't need to. Instead, each one fired a single projectile. Not the relativistic rounds from the demonstration. Something else. The projectiles moved slowly, almost leisurely, toward the Gorvak ships. The pirates laughed and opened fire. Plasma beams that could melt through a meter of steel hit the human ships. The gray hulls didn't even warm up. The metamaterial absorbed the energy, dispersed it, channeled it into heat sinks that would later radiate it harmlessly into space. Impossible, the Gorvak commander screamed. More power. All weapons! The projectiles reached the Gorvak ships. They attached to the hulls like leeches. Then they activated. Every electronic system on the Gorvak vessels died instantly. Lights, engines, weapons, life support, everything. The ships became floating coffins drifting powerless in space. EMP limpets, Chen explained to the watching crowd. Electromagnetic pulse weapons. Very focused, very precise. They only affected the Gorvak ships. The human vessels moved forward slowly. Boarding tubes extended from their hulls. Within minutes, human marines in power armor had taken control of all 3 Gorvak ships. Not a single shot was fired. The pirates, trapped in dead ships with failing life support, surrendered immediately. The entire battle, if it could even be called that, was over before most people realized it had started. Vextor stared at the display. You didn't use your drones. You didn't use your main weapons. We didn't need to, Chen said. The Gorvak assumed our strength was in our swarm technology. They didn't realize that was just one tool in our arsenal. We have others. Many others. Around the command center, representatives from dozens of species were whispering urgently. The humans hadn't just won. They had won without trying. Without their primary weapons. Without breaking a sweat. Admiral Thresh appeared on one of the screens. Her skin was cycling through colors so fast it was hard to look at. The Gorvak ships are completely disabled. How? Humans have been fighting with electronics for over a century, Chen said. We learned to build them, break them, shield them, and weaponize them. The Gorvak ships had standard shielding against energy weapons and kinetics. They had no defense against targeted electromagnetic warfare. And your ships? Thresh asked. Why weren't they affected by the plasma fire? Our hulls are layered, Chen explained. Metamaterials, ceramics, carbon nanotubes, and some elements that are still classified. Energy weapons are actually our preferred enemy. Kinetics are harder to stop, but energy? We can absorb, deflect, or dissipate almost any energy-based attack. The implications sank in. The humans weren't just advanced in one area. They were advanced in all areas. Offense, defense, electronic warfare, materials science. 50 years of faster-than-light travel, but thousands of years of warfare experience. A commotion at the entrance drew everyone's attention. A group of smaller species representatives entered. The Trivani, the Bellari, the Queel, and half a dozen others. They approached Chen. The Trivani ambassador, a delicate creature that looked like a butterfly made of crystal, spoke for the group. Ambassador Chen, we have a proposal. The smaller members of the Alliance wish to form a mutual defense pact with humanity. We offer resources, bases, and intelligence. In exchange, we want protection. From whom? Chen asked. From everyone, the Trivani said, looking at Vextor and Thresh. The demonstration showed us the truth. The age of large empires bullying smaller species is ending. We want to be on the winning side of that change. Vextor's shell darkened. You can't be serious. You're choosing humans over the hegemony? We're choosing survival, the Trivani replied. The humans have shown they can defend against anyone. And they've shown they don't want conquest. That makes them the perfect protectors. Chen looked at the group of small species. Together, they controlled hundreds of systems, vast resources, and critical trade routes. It was more than humanity could have hoped for. We'll consider your proposal, she said carefully. Captain Mitchell's voice came over the comm. Ambassador, we're detecting multiple jump signatures. 40 ships incoming, everyone tensed. Another attack? The ships appeared.